Carpe diem. My name is Ultranatic, and here's another Total Drama vlog going again over Total Drama Island 2023. And I probably have said this in a few past vlogs, but I don't know. It still feels right for me to say this here. This might be my new least favorite episode of this particular season. Now, again, that's not to say that it's like the worst episode of the entire franchise, even excluding Total Drama Rama, but I don't know. This one just felt like so unfun to me at this point, and it kind of comes. It even stems up to the title of the episode, which is "The Truth, the Pole Truth, and Nothing But the Truth." Look, Paddlefield Earth. That's a great title. This was that it? I mean, okay, not that pole and truth don't play into what happens in the story. They do, but this feels so forced and needy. I mean, you could have just cut out the truth part at the beginning and just said the pole truth and nothing but the truth, and that might have been a little better, but that felt like weirdly forced in my opinion. But that's not the only reason I dislike it. And again, like even then, there are things in the episode I like, but they're kind of few and far between. And I can't say there's like one definitive part of the episode, like actual chunk of it, that I thought was consistently good. It's just like stuff that might have been a little sprinkled throughout. But let's start at the beginning, where again it opens with Priya and Millie training by walking up that giant cliff, where of course the cliff dive from the original series premiere happened. But Priya gets upset at Millie because she drank all of their water. What do you mean? As in, like, you know, our water, the water of both Millie and Priya. To which Millie's like, "You didn't pack water? What do you have in your bag that you're carrying there? Just rocks make the climb more challenging." Okay, that'd almost be funny if it also wasn't kind of stupid. I mentioned in the last vlog that I thought that Z's stupidity was kind of charming. This is not charming because Priya's not stupid. I'm sorry, like, what part of her describes as, "Yeah, mom can't move, I didn't pack an essential." I'm not saying you can't have, like, this kind of challenge or anything. Like, sometimes rocks in a backpack can be kind of funny. I've seen that joke before in, like, other cartoons. But here, really? You didn't think this far ahead at all? But, whatever. Millie has Priya carry her because, of course, she's too tired, and that's going to make Priya more exhausted. But she's like, I'll get filled up when I get back to camp. Nope, they want you hungry for the challenge, so you're not getting food or water at all. Okay, I'm going to say that might be the meanest thing I've seen Chris and Chef do all season. And I think I might think that because they want them, like, hungry for this new challenge. I'm just like, oh, so it's new era survivor tactics. Like, depriving them of as much of the essentials because you want to make the challenge more interesting, which I'm not saying that I inherently hate that, even in new era Survivor. I actually don't think it's a bad element at all there, but here it feels kind of cruel and like completely out of character at this point. You know, it's weird. Chris and Chef being that cruel, out of character, that shows you how much they changed. And even then, this isn't the most cruel thing I've seen, period, from the two, not by a long shot. But in this season, even I'm like, come on, no, give her a little water or something like that. But whatever. The challenge is a pretty simple endurance challenge that dates like all the way back to the earliest seasons of Survivor, just balancing on a pole. And it's an endurance challenge. The one who stays on there the longest wins. We see that Emma does not like being hungry, which of course she is throughout this entire episode. And and we see Chase trying to get on a pole closer to Emma to try and get back with her, but she doesn't want to. Like, she doesn't want to move poles. No one wants to move poles to get Chase closer to her. They're just stuck where they are. And Emma does not want to get back together with him at all. We get a nice little moment of Chris giving a temptation to the other campers of a giant, like, pancake breakfast, which must be nice for them. But no one takes it. Spoilers for all the temptations. Only one gets taken at all in this challenge. I won't say which one, but you'll see. And I'll admit that is kind of cool on the competitive side. I'll admit that is one thing I do like about the episode. It's that there is a much harsher competitive edge to everybody in the cast. It's everything outside of that I have a bit of an issue with, but yeah. So we see Millie considering bowing out for whenever the next temptation comes up, but Priya tells her, no, don't do that. And like in confessional, she blames how harsh she's treating Millie on dehydration, and then she thinks about more, and she's like, no, I'm just upset with Millie for real. And we see Emma is also losing her mind, and she calls out Chase for being anti-selfless. I'd say selfish, because obviously yes, that, but like more accurately, she's like that he's never done a single selfless act in his life, which that sounds 100% true to me. Despite Priya's objections to like Millie and like her lack of like really harsh gameplay, she does still find her company enjoyable and laughs at her jokes, and she realizes, I don't actually know that much about Millie personally. I like her chemistry and whatnot, but do we really know each other? I think I should ask her a few questions, because all I see her do is like write in her little journal, which she doesn't know what's in it yet. And so she decides to ask about what Millie has in her journal, and of course Millie, knowing that the stuff's going to be like really critical and hurt people's feelings, doesn't want to now. And she even thinks, well, wait a minute, I was going to publish it, so like why would I be worried about that kind of thing now? And now she's starting to realize that she feels guilty about that. Okay, I'll admit that's a good element too. It shows development on Millie's part. I mentioned in the last vlog that I feel like there's a way you could have made Priya's development a little more well fleshed out, and they were choosing to not do that for whatever reason. But this I think works too. It's a much more long game kind of character development. But hey, like I think it's a pretty good sign for Millie. So by sheer coincidence in the challenge, Bowie sees the phone that MK had the confessional stored on washed up on the beach. Well, I'm sure it's in perfect working condition. Apparently it is. What kind of phones did Julia buy? Because that was one of Julia's phones, or at least I think it was, yeah. But he wonders, should I get that for like future ammunition for challenges? Well, wait, that depends. Can I beat Julia? So she asks Julia how she's feeling, and Julia's like, I'm solid. So Bowie decides to fake a fall by faking a sneeze. I'll give credit, that's a pretty cool part of the episode. Most of what I will say is good in the episode is going to revolve around Bowie, but we'll get to that in a minute. He fakes the fall, it looks pretty convincing, and he swims against the phone, which of course isn't going to get confiscated because nobody cares anymore. We see that Priya is also losing her mind, and she basically, in her dehydrated state, tells Millie that she's not doing anything in the game and that she is not a good ally. Millie impressively isn't the least bit offended and realizes that Priya is just going through sunstroke. Again, I actually kind of admire that because it is showing development on Millie's part, that she's, one, not taking that to grudge. In fact, she feels guilty about it, so she's like, can I be mad that she's being critical of me when I've been so critical of her? That's a nice, I'm actually being more complimentary than I think I was implying I'd be at the start. I think you'll see where I'm going with this though afterwards. But yeah, rather than be mad at Priya, she's thinking about, have I been like this for real? I probably would still be against how Priya's talking to her, dehydrated or not, if nothing came from that. But something does, and we'll get to that too. There was another temptation of burgers and fries that no one took, and then another temptation comes out now of $10,000. It kind of looks like it's in bags of coins. How'd you get that many coins? Whatever. No one takes it, and because all the food kept getting dumped in the ocean to have the fish eat it, Chef does the same thing with the money, to which Chris is like, why would you do that? That's money! Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Like, really? You don't throw away the dang money! You just literally threw away $10K! It's like, I wouldn't have done that. So Emma apparently is like so hunger deprived and whatnot, she's prepared to like punch anybody, and it's apparently like a running gag. I don't think it's that funny. It's not horrible, it's just not very funny. And Priya hallucinates a glass of water talking to her, which of course everybody can see. Ironically, later on in the episode, she asks, you all saw it too, right? Impressively, yes. I don't know how we are able to see your hallucinations, but yeah, we saw it. I don't know. But yeah, then we get to a part of the episode I actually do think is quite good. Because Bowie gets the phone, realizes it's very low on power, but that every one of the confessionals that was taken from it were like organized. That was thoughtful of MK. And and Bowie is looking through them, and he finds a confessional from Raj, where he talks about how that being with Bowie now makes him think there might be more life than hockey. Okay, I'll admit, that's one really strong saving grace, is that one moment. In fact, there's a couple other moments where we see the confessionals within this confessional that Bowie's having, and I'm like, you know what, those were the good moments. I like those moments. When we see one later on where he just finds a clip of like Emma dancing around like an idiot. I'll admit, that got a smile from me too. So like, big thumbs up there. He found that dance embarrassing. Yeah, I guess it's honestly not less embarrassing than Lashana's dancing. I might have joked about Lashana's dancing in the past, but even now I'm like, come on, she dances better than I do, probably. Moving on, though. We see Priya fall next, pretty much just because she's wiped out. And Chase continues trying to win Emma back, and this is where I hate the episode. He tries his hardest after 12 hours. She probably, I think, told him this around like hour 2 or 3, but that he never did anything selfless. He tries to come up with selfless acts he had done, but he's always envisioning them wrong because he's a selfish, arrogant, self-centered idiot who, and everything he says is just making him look worse and more disgusting. Like he said, "Oh, I put my jacket down over a pole for you to walk over after we got the movies." She's like, "That was my jacket." And that was, and it was a pole that you made, to which he's like, well, those big drinks that we have will make you, like, pee a lot. To which I'm like, that is disgusting. You peed ew. Ew. So, and yeah, there's moment after moment after moment that shows how absolutely horrible Chase is. More so than you and I remember. I can't even go over everything they showed here, but you know what's kind of intriguing? This could have worked. I know I sound crazy, like, how could this have worked? Well, it worked when Owen did it in season 2. Remember when he, well, first there was that moment where, and during the aftermath, he's like hooked up to that electric chair and he starts blurting out all these childish sins and pranks that he was responsible for. They weren't anything that terrible, but still, it's like, wow, I've never seen Owen be that devious before. But I thought that was kind of funny. And we also see that after Owen gets brought back into the game as a mole to, like, sabotage their campers, that while he's rusty with it at first, he's randomly really good at it in Top Dog. And I thought that was pretty cool, too. And I was like, why does that work and not this? It's because Owen, as an inherently likable character, it is a little funny seeing this whiplash of him suddenly being a terrible person. Not terrible to the point where it's unforgivable, but terrible to the point where it's like, I never would have expected to see this side of him. Whereas literally everything that we see and hear about Chase, while you might not have seen it coming, you're not going to be the least bit surprised, yeah, he would do something like that. It feels entirely too much in character. Had it come the flip out of nowhere and shown just how terrible he is, like, out random, I might have been a little horrified, but I might have gotten a chuckle. Like, maybe out of, like a defense mechanism, but I can't laugh at any of this stuff. And the fact that he's still trying his hardest to get back Emma while not wanting to improve at all, I just can't find anything about that redeemable. So yeah, the whole episode is basically just making Chase look as horrible as possible, and I don't care for that. But then we get the temptation of pizza coming out, which that's the temptation that Chase is going to die for. But not by just jumping off his pole. Oh, no. What he does, and this is completely freaking unfair, he jumps and knocks Millie off her pole, and then Julia off her pole, and then leaps over Emma to get the pizza. And Emma actually sees that as a selfless sacrifice because she was about to lose her balance and thinks that he knocked the other people off and then sacrificed himself so she would get immunity. Someone commented on a past vlog that Emma is just as bad as Chase. I can't say that, but I know what they're talking about. because, again, for as much as she's like a strong, independent person who knows she shouldn't be with Chase anymore, the fact that it takes her almost nothing to be enamored by him again. It's like, what kind of partner acts this way? Something feels genuinely wrong with this in a way that is really tragic and really infuriating, because I'm not saying that every single female character has to be like strong and independent, like completely. I mean, Lindsay is like that in many of her seasons, but she's also like a really kind, sweet soul who's not trying to really hurt anybody. And I like that too. Like, if you can do one or the other, and if you can combine the two, I guess that's fine too, but this is just the most pathetic thing I've ever seen in my life. It's one of those things where I literally have to look away from. I can look at the vomiting that you see in like Willow vomit, like stuff like that, but this, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to hear about it. So, yeah, she's enamored by it, whatever. On the plus side, because thankfully there's one of those, after the challenge, Priya comes and says that she's actually very proud of Millie. Millie's like, well, why? I didn't win. But you stayed up there so long, and had Chase not knocked you off, you might have won. Because you actually, like, really, really trying on this one. She stayed up there for over, I think, 14 hours. That is amazing, I gotta be fair. I think that's longer than, like, some of the longest endurance challenges I've seen in Survivor. So, that is really cool. And Millie's like, look, about my journal, forget about the journal, is what Pro is like, we're BFFs, I don't care. I was like, I was being an idiot, I was being weird, we're friends. Okay. I like that moment too. Doesn't erase how much I hate chasing them and what's going on between those two, but like, that's a good moment right there between Millie and Priya. And because of all this, Millie decides that she's going to do away with her journal properly. I mean, it's already in the confessionals. They're going to find out later on no matter what. And she writes one last chapter just about how awesome she thinks Priya is, which I think is pretty cool. Although what's stupid is that she decides to not destroy the rest of the journal. Now, why would this be bad? Because Bowie finds a confessional from Millie from way back at the beginning of the game, talking about how, basically her being really critical of, like, Priya, or actually not really even being critical of Priya, but critical of how Priya was raised, and I think that's fair, because who raises their kid to be this devoted to the game like this? But yeah, he's gonna use that as ammunition, and he finds her journal, which he hides under her pillow because she's apparently especially basic. Actually, that is kind of in character for Millie, I gotta be fair. She's gonna use that for ammunition. He's gonna use that for ammunition. I was thinking about Millie for a second, my bad. And I'll admit, I do like seeing a more villainous side come out of Bowie. It does feel fairly natural. He's not as, like, full force a villain as Julia is, but I don't mind that. A low-key villain could be kind of entertaining, too, especially for, like, an endgame like this. And then we get to the marshmallow ceremony, where surprisingly Julia isn't voted out, despite being both, you know, a toxic person and a complete challenge beast. Instead, Chase gets voted out because he's, one, gross, and two, because he knocked much people off of their polls. Of course, Chase, at this exact moment, decides, well, I guess goodbye forever, Emma. That would have been so nice. And then Emma kisses him. Every single person at that campfire disapproves, including Chef. You see, you know what's wrong with this? Even the show knows how messed up this is, because they wouldn't have made that joke if they didn't know it was messed up. So why are we watching it? Like, do you think it's funny? I don't think this is funny. I think it's sad. I guess, again, for the sake of, like, comedy being based on misery, maybe the misery comes from, like, how everyone else hates it, but that's too short of a punchline for this long-running, supposedly serious storyline. I mean, it's serious trying to be funny, but it fails at the funny part big time, and the serious part, yeah, but sadly they take it in a part where, oh no, you want to see them back together. No, you don't. No one wants to see that. Chase gets taken away from his pizza, yada yada, episode ends. Yeah, I gotta be fair. This might be the first episode outright that I'd probably give less than a 5 out of 10. Not that low, to be fair. I think at lowest I'd give it a 3 out of 10, which is still bad. It's not the worst score I'd give to a worst episode in the season kind of thing, and that's assuming that no episode after this is worse than this somehow. Well, we'll see how that plays out. But I guess I want to leave some positive there. I liked most of the stuff that we got with Bowie. I do like the how the Millie and Priya subplot here ends, and yeah, the challenge does bring out a strong competitive spirit that I think is pretty cool. Most of the rest of this I didn't think was very good. I didn't enjoy watching it. If y'all enjoy watching that kind of thing, cool. It's not what I want out of this though. But yeah, here's hoping that the episode after this is better to some extent. And I will see you all in the next vlog. Take care.